Following a surprise rocket attack by Palestinian Hamas militants Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a video statement following the attacks that the country is at war. "We are at war and we will win," he asserted. After Chandrayaan-3 and Aditya L1 missions, ISRO is gearing up for mission Gaganyaan. Gaganyaan is India's first human space flight mission aiming for safe transportation of astronauts to space and back. The United Nations Human Rights Office, led by Commissioner Volker Turk on Friday, said that it is alarmed by threats posed to Manipur-based human rights activist Bablu Loitangbam. India achieved a magical figure of 100 medals at the ongoing Asian Games after the women's kabaddi team defeated Chinese Taipei 26-25 in a thrilling final to clinch gold in Hangzhou, China on Saturday. Now for the news in details. Israel on Saturday declared war against Palestine's Hamas, vowing to avenge a fierce rocket attack that has killed 22 Israelis and which the militants claimed was their first strike. Israel has launched airstrike on the blockaded Gaza Strip. Over 5,000 rockets pierced the sky towards Israel on a festive holiday morning as loud sirens blared across the country. The country's defense forces also alleged on the infiltration by Hamas militants, whom they consider terrorists. Paragliders were used in the attack and cars passing by were fired on the roads, showed visuals from Israel. Meanwhile, the Israel Defense Forces say that it was carrying out retaliatory airstrikes in the Gaza Strip. The strikes come nearly 2 hours after Hamas launched a surprise attack, the Israeli Daily reported.
תזיז את הראשים שלכם מפה, תזיז את הראשים. יש מחבלים פה באזור. ראימה, פה לבטה יש. ראימה. ראימה. אללה אכבר! אללה אכבר!
There are a lot of things I can't report right now because of operational security, but things are very, very bad along the Gaza border. Small arms fire, continued rocket fire into southern and central Israel. Soldiers doing what they can to hold lines around here, but it is a very, very bad situation, one of the worst that I've seen between Israel and Gaza.
In a statement, the IDF said the Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, is holding an assessment and approving plans of actions. The Daily added on its report. As of 8 a.m. local time on Saturday morning, Megan David Adam said it had thus far treated 16 people throughout the country, including 2 who were in critical condition, 6 in moderate condition, and 7 with minor injuries. There has been sustained rocket fire toward Israel for over 2 hours. 1 woman has been killed and there are multiple wounded from the barricades. Aside from the women who died of her wounds, the injured included a 52-year-old man from Gederot who was moderately injured and a 20-year-old man from Yafni who was also sustained minor injuries. Both victims were transferred to Kaplan Hospital, according to the Jerusalem Post. The latest violence marks another big escalation in geopolitics in recent years after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Sirens are blazing in the holy city of Jerusalem and across Israel as multiple points of impact have been reported across southern and central parts of the country. Following the surprise rocket attack by Palestinian Hamas militants, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a video statement following the attacks that the country is at war. "We are at war and we will win," he asserted, adding, "Our enemy will pay a price the type of which it has never been known." Netanyahu said troops are fighting against the enemy at every location.
אנחנו במלחמה, לא במבצע, לא בסבבים, במלחמה. הבוקר חמאס פתח במתקפת פתע רצחנית נגד מדינת ישראל ונגד אזרחיה. אנחנו בתוך זה משעות הבוקר המוקדמות. כינסתי את ראשי מערכת הביטחון, הנחיתי קודם כל לטהר את היישובים מהמחבלים שחדרו פנימה. הפעולה הזאת מתבצעת בשעות הללו. במקביל הוריתי לבצע גיוס מילואים נרחב ולהשיב מלחמה שערה בעוצמה ובהיקף שהאויב לא הכיר. האויב ישלם מחיר שהוא לא ידע כמותו. אני קורא בינתיים לכל אזרחי ישראל להישמע בקפדנות להנחיות הצבא, להנחיות פיקוד העורף. אנחנו במלחמה ואנחנו ננצח בה.
Israel declared a state of war and launched airstrikes on Gaza Strip following a surprise rocket attack by Palestinian Hamas militants, which claimed that it was only their first strike. In retaliation, the Israel military began airstrikes on Gaza. The military said dozens of IDF fighters jet are currently striking a number of targets belonging to the Hamas terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip. This came after Palestinian militants began a war against Israel. The country's defense minister said a barrage of rockets were fired and fighters from the Palestinian enclave infiltrated Israel. At least 2 people were killed in Israel, officials said, while Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant said Palestinian militant group Hamas has launched a war against the state of Israel. After Chandrayaan-3 and Aditya L1 mission, ISRO is gearing up for the mission Gaganyaan. Gaganyaan is India's first human space flight mission, aiming for safe transportation of astronauts to space and back. Now, ISRO is preparing for the flight test vehicle aboard mission 1 for mission Gaganyaan. The test will also demonstrate the performance of the crew escape system. The first crew module for Gaganyaan test flight has taken its shape now. The crew module is where the astronauts are contained in a pressurized Earth-like atmospheric condition. The last mission of the ISRO was the solar mission Aditya L1. ISRO launched its maiden solar mission Aditya L1 on September 2 to study the sun from point L1. The satellite will travel approximately 15 million kilometers to reach the L1 point. Also, India successfully conducted Chandrayaan-3 mission when Vikram lander made a soft landing on the south pole of the moon. Time for a short break. We'll be back with more news.
DDU GKY is sponsored by Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, and monitored by the Nagaland State Rural Livelihood Mission, Government of Nagaland. We teach them about soft skill, English, time management, teamwork, and in computer we teach them the basic thing, which is how to work on Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint presentation.
Israel declared a state of war and launched airstrikes on Gaza Strip following a surprise rocket attack by Palestinian Hamas militants, which claimed that it was only their first strike in retaliation. The Israel's military began a strike on Gaza. The military said dozens of IDF fighters jets are currently striking a number of targets belonging to the Hamas terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip. This came after Palestinian militants began a war against Israel. The country's defense minister said after a barrage of rockets were fired and fighters from the Palestinian enclave infiltrated Israel. At least 2 people were killed in Israel, officials said, while Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant said Palestinian militant groups Hamas and launched a war against the state of Israel. Israel and Palestine have been in conflict for decades, with both sides using violence to achieve their goals. The conflict is rooted in complex historical, religious and political issues, and it dates back to history. The conflict had its roots in the 19th century when the Zionist movement began to advocate for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. At the time, Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire and was mostly inhabited by the Arabs. The conflict intensified in the 20th century as waves of Jewish immigrants arrived in Palestine after the Holocaust. In 1947, the United Nations voted to partition Palestine into 2 states, one Jewish and one Arab. However, the Arab states rejected the plan and invaded Israel after it declared independence in 1948. In 1967, Israel defeated the Arab states in the Six-Day War and captured the West Bank, Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem and the Golan Heights. In 1973, the Arab states launched a surprise attack on Israel in the Yom Kippur War. In the 1980s, the Palestine uprising known as the First Intifada began. In 1990s, there was a period of relative calm in the conflict. However, the peace process stalled in 2000 due to disagreements over the status of Jerusalem and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. In 2000, the second violent intifada began. In 2014, Israel launched a military operation in Gaza in response to rocket attacks from Hamas. The operation lasted for 50 days and resulted in deaths of over 2,000 Palestinians and 70 Israelis. In 2021, Israel and Hamas fought an 11-day war in Gaza. The war was sparked by a dispute over the eviction of Palestinian families from the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood of East Jerusalem. The war resulted in deaths of over 250 Palestinians and 13 Israelis. What we need to understand here is that one of the main reasons for the conflict is the dispute over the land. Let me make it clear that this is not the core reason, but surely is one of the main reasons that led to the chain reaction of all the violence. Israel claims the entire area of historical Palestine, while the Palestinians claim the right to a state on the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Another major reason for the conflict is the issue of Jerusalem. Both Israelis and Palestinians claim the city as their capital. As of now, the total number of deaths throughout the Israeli-Palestinian conflict over the time is difficult to determine precisely, as there is no single authoritative source for this information, but various estimates put the total death toll at between 200,000 to 250,000 people since the start of the conflict in the late 1940s. But let me remind you, this is just a rough estimation. It will be much more than this. It has been difficult to track the exact number of casualties, and it has been a long ongoing conflict. The current violence is all over the news. A tense ceasefire is between Israel and Hamas, the Palestinian militant groups that controls the Gaza Strip. The ceasefire was brokered by Egypt on August 7, 2023, after a 3-day flare-up in the violence that killed at least 49 Palestinians and 5 Israelis. The latest round of violence was sparked by Israeli airstrikes on Gaza in response to rocket attacks from Hamas. The Israeli military said that airstrikes were targeting Hamas military sites, but they also killed a number of civilians. Hamas responded by firing hundreds of rockets into Israel. According to Al Jazeera live updates, Israel authorities confirmed Palestinian fighters have taken control over 3 Israelite settlements at Gaza Strip. Israel Army has also launched air, land, sea strike on Gaza. Palestinian armed group Islamic Jihad says its fighters have joined Hamas offensive against Israel. Israel has also announced Swords of Iron operation against Palestinian armed groups in response to Palestinian attacks. Al Jazeera's Sarah Khairat reporting from occupied East Jerusalem. The previous number reported by emergency services was 22, but now the Israeli government has confirmed that the number of Israelis killed has risen to at least 40. More than 750 Israelis have been injured. Adding to that, numbers are likely to continue to increase. According to the live updates, intensity of aerial bombardment in Gaza growing bit by bit following the surprise rocket attack by Palestinians' Hamas militants. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a video statement following the attacks that the country is at war.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה, לא במבצע, לא בסבבים, במלחמה. הבוקר חמאס פתח במתקפת פתע רצחנית נגד מדינת ישראל ונגד אזרחיה. אנחנו בתוך זה משעות הבוקר המוקדמות. כינסתי את ראשי מערכת הביטחון, הנחיתי קודם כל לטהר את היישובים מהמחבלים שחדרו פנימה. הפעולה הזאת מתבצעת בשעות הללו. במקביל הוריתי לבצע גיוס מילואים נרחב ולהשיב מלחמה שערה בעוצמה ובהיקף שהאויב לא הכיר. האויב ישלם מחיר שהוא לא ידע כמותו. אני קורא בינתיים לכל אזרחי ישראל להישמע בקפדנות להנחיות הצבא, להנחיות פיקוד העורף. אנחנו במלחמה ואנחנו ננצח בה.
Time for a short break. We'll be back with more news.
My name is Julian Kunya. I'm now currently working at St. Regis, Mumbai. It was my best decision for taking up a course under TDU GKY, sponsored by MORD, Government of India and NSRLM, Nagaland.
Hi, my name is Pinjal Bashir. I've completed my automotive service technician and currently working in an auto race dealership as a trainee technician, also known as Parapis.
Hello everyone, my name is Ramsunma Mboyen. I did my 3-month course in Food and Beverage Service Assistant from TDU GKY. After my training, I was placed at Radisson Blue Resort, Visakhapatnam.
My name is Tali from Minchong community. Today, I am abroad employed in the Central Park, which is located in Pune.
My name is Magaoli and I'm placed in Indigo as a cabin attendant.
My name is Kimni Shohe and I am from Nagaland, and now I am placed in Air India as a cabin crew. I want to thank the Government of India, the Government of Nagaland for giving me this opportunity and making my dream come true.
Welcome back. Moving on to the next news. Police personnel of Uttar Pradesh who demonstrated active service under Operation Conviction were honoured on Saturday by DGP Vijay Kumar at DGP headquarters in Lucknow. Police officers from Lucknow, Kanpur, Nagar, Auraiya, Badayu, Bijnor, Sitapur, Bulandshahr, Rampur, Ambedkar Nagar, Chitrakoot and other districts were felicitated. Operation Conviction was launched by the UP government to punish criminals. In the last 3 months, approximately 10,000 criminals were sentenced by the court. 3 were awarded death sentences, while life imprisonment terms were given in 149 cases. A total of 242 persons were convicted of women crimes, while 221 people have been sentenced under POCSO, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Crimes. 4 people connected with the mafia were punished and 193 persons were convicted of serious crimes.
सम्मान रखी है श्री मोहित अग्रवाल जी और मेरे सभी साथी अधिकारियों और पत्रकार बंधुओं, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री उत्तर प्रदेश द्वारा अपराध और अपराधियों और माफियाओं के विरुद्ध जीरो टॉलरेंस की नीति तथा अपराध होने पर उनकी शीघ्र गिरफ्तारी और न्यायालय में प्रभावी पैरवी कर उनको कठोर सजा कराए जाने के निर्देश हमेशा से दिए गए हैं। इस पर और बल देते हुए मिशन मोड में कार्रवाई की गई। इसका उद्देश्य अपराधियों पर प्रभावी नियंत्रण और अपराधियों के विरुद्ध माननीय मुख्यालय में विचाराधीन मुकदमों में पैरवी करके अधिकाधिक सजा कराए जाने का उद्देश्य था और इस उद्देश्य की पूर्ति के लिए 1 जुलाई से 2023 से प्रदेश में ऑपरेशन कन्विक्शन प्रारंभ किया गया। इस अभियान के दौरान 3 माह में
A man identified as Ramprikal has been sentenced to death and fined ₹60,000 for raping and murdering his own 8-year-old daughter in Uttar Pradesh, Sitapur. Special Public Prosecutor Govind Mishra said that the accused, a resident of village under Riusa police station, raped his own daughter and later murdered her and buried her in a water tank at home. He said the accused then reported to the police that his daughter was missing. However, during investigation, police recovered the body and the accused confessed his crime. A case was then registered under POCSO Act. Meanwhile, the wife of the accused and mother of the victim said, "Monsters like him has no right to live."
आज जनपद सीतापुर पुलिस के द्वारा की गई प्रभावी पैरवी तथा लोक अभियोजकों के द्वारा की गई कार्रवाई के परिप्रेक्ष्य में जनपद सीतापुर न्यायालय के एडीजे पॉक्सो कोर्ट के द्वारा एक अभियुक्त जिसका नाम राम कृपाल है, इसको धारा 302, 201 पॉक्सो एक्ट तथा 376 AB के अंतर्गत फांसी की सजा सुनाई गई है। यह अभियुक्त थाना रेउसा के अंतर्गत दर्ज मुकदमे जो कि 2020 में था उसके अंतर्गत जेल में निरुद्ध है। इसके विरुद्ध प्रभावी कार्रवाई पुलिस के द्वारा की गई थी, वह इसमें आज कोर्ट के द्वारा इसको सजा दी गई है। बाकी जानकारी जैसे मिलती है आप लोगों को प्रेषित की जाएगी।
That's all for now. Thank you for watching Hornbill TV.